promised you that at the 7:45 meeting tonight, I would give you the overnights on Tesla. And the good news is, last check here, we're looking at $330.30. So that's up nicely in the overnights. We'll check it once more before we go, but I'm recording this at around 5:12 California time, and it won't be published until 7:45. So this will be kind of late news, but maybe it'll stimulate you. You want to see if things are still up. The markets are up, bonds are down a little bit. So really all the stuff all this confusion over the weekend, the Iran, Israel issue, all the business in the streets of LA and across the country, marches in Washington, D.C., assassinations in Minnesota. None of this news is impacting the markets. The markets say, you know what, we're still going up. So there you have it. All right, let's go ahead, though, and take a look at a couple of things here. First of all, let me just say that from time to time, I feel as though communications from headquarters, from Elon at Tesla, kind of dry up. Sometimes we get lots and lots of communication, and sure, there's been quite a bit of communication here this last couple of weeks about Robotaxi and about the launch and whatnot, but I really feel as if we're not getting that much about the big issues, about the real directionality of the company other than Robotaxi. And maybe that's just me. Maybe there's been just as much as normal. But I do this from time to time, hoping that somebody in Tesla's world is listening. Somebody writes this stuff down. Somebody accumulates it from me and from everybody else and X and all these places. And there's a bunch of folks paying attention. And some of this stuff eventually makes its way to Elon, because between now and the meeting in, the regular earnings meeting in July, he'll probably have an interview or two that he'll be doing. And maybe, like he has in the past, at least once, two meetings ago, he did an hour interview just before the earnings call. And he gave us so much information in that interview that I felt like, hey, we don't even need the earnings call. So anyway, you could hope for this kind of stuff. But, before I start on my list of the things I'd like to know, if I could talk to Elon right now, I want to do one quick thing. And I want to give you a part 3. I didn't intend this. This is just how it's been rolling. From my starting video from this morning, which if you haven't seen that, you still need to see it. You need to go back and check out my video from this morning. And then I updated it on my second video that I did just a little while ago, my regular Monday morning video, which we do on Sunday night. I updated it and gave you more information about what I was talking about this morning. And now I want to update it again. And again, I can't go back and give you all that information that I can't do that again. So if you haven't seen it, I'll put both cards up at the end. But let me just do a brief introduction, and then I'll tell you what my addition is. So the concept of what I did this morning is the actual disruption for Tesla and for the auto industry isn't BEV. It's AV. It's autonomous driving, autonomous vehicles. And I claim in the video this morning that there will be no cars, virtually no cars, sold for private use after 2028 or 2029 by any company. And in fact, there may only be a couple of companies, and one of those will be Tesla. So that's a pretty big statement, I realize, but I give you all the reasons in my first video this morning. Love to hear from you if you think I'm completely wrong, if you think I'm nuts, but that's what I did. And so far, I'm not seeing too many people pushing back too hard. But where we might have been looking at Tesla selling 20 million vehicles to consumers in 2030, no, there's not going to be any vehicles sold to consumers in 2030. And that's where Elon completely changed his mind at some point last year. I've been thinking that this has been true for about a year and a half, 2 years now. I didn't want to say anything because I wasn't sure exactly how to bring it up or whether people would even think I was nuts. But no, rather than a big switch to electric vehicles, no, the big switch will be to not driving at all and to hiring your ride when you need it. Anyway, as I was thinking about this again just a little while ago, I thought, well, wait a minute, maybe Elon they can't talk about this because it would Osborne future sales of Tesla cars. Because if they're not going to sell any more cars, then you know what that's going to do to the used car market. I already talked about that I think in the morning show, is that the used car market will go away really rapidly. People are going to be going, well, no, I'm just going to hold on to my car until I decide to buy no, I'm not even going to buy an next car. I'm just going to hold on to this car and use it up and then throw it away because there's no market. It'll be obvious. All the used car markets will be completely dried up and people won't know what to do with these old, cars that nobody cares about, nobody wants. So, that might impact, okay, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this because of the Osborne effect on Tesla cars. Except that I realized, no, it'd be the opposite for Tesla because every car that Tesla sells is a potential, well, it is an AV. It's an autonomous vehicle. It's not just a BEV, it's an AV. So therefore, if I'm sitting here in 2026 and I'm going, oh, the future is autonomous vehicles, nobody's going to drive, and I need a new car. My car is dead, or for whatever reason, I've got somebody in my family that needs a car. And I'm like, what should I buy? Well, what should I buy? As I should buy an AV because that's going to be the future. So even though I may not be ready to go full autonomous right now, and I really badly need a car, I need to buy an AV because they're going to go up in value, not down in value. What do you think about that idea? Okay, so let me know. That's my third update or second update after the show this morning, and I'll put both of those cards up at the end. And then we'll get on to some more crazy stuff now. My questions, because as you know, I am crazy. I am slightly nuts. And so a lot of these things are not what other people are thinking about because I revel in the fact that I am weird. So let's start with the first one. I want to know, as the number one thing I want to know about. Yes, number one. I want to know about the future of the semi-trucks. Is this going to be a massive enterprise at Tesla, which I believe it could be, in the $500 billion range, maybe more? Is this going to be a massive venture for Tesla where they will be taking over all of the AVs? Again, it'll be AVs in the semi business. Or is it just going to be, the 40,000 a year, maybe double this, maybe it'll be 100,000 a year, and it's going to be barely a needle mover compared to robotaxis and compared to Optimus. I want to know this, Elon. This is an opportunity that just seems to be screaming at you in terms of what you could do with this. And then what I also want to know is, will Tesla then end up with their own logistics company? In other words, if Tesla is going to be having their own fleet of automobile vehicles that are out there offering rides, will they also have a fleet of semis and maybe other large trucks as well? Will they be doing a fleet of those where they're going to be offering them on a day rate or an hourly rate or a by the mile or whatever? Setting up a logistics company where they're picking up and delivering freight. Now, some of that makes sense and some of it doesn't to me, but I want to know what Elon's thinking is, because you could just sell all these Tesla semi-trucks to people like Pepsi and whatnot, or you could set up your own fleet. Well, number two, and almost as wild, I suppose, but what about the energy business? What is the real plan on the energy business? So we've talked about the mega packs being also a 400 billion, 500 billion, maybe even bigger business. It's easily could get to 100 billion, but as it stands right now, we're only building capacity to do about 30 billion. So why are we going so slow? What is the plan there? What's the real plan? You've talked about an entire terawatt that you would be producing, or storing, or some combination, that Tesla would be responsible for a terawatt of energy. What's the plan? It's 2025, almost halfway through. What are you going to do? What is the real plan? Give us some clarity. Is it going to be like 20 more buildings building 40 gigawatt hours each of batteries? Or is there another plan? Does it have to do with wholesaling energy and all the kinds of things that you're already doing and little bits and pieces here and there? Is there a big master plan around energy? Maybe that's it. Maybe we could just have one master plan, only has to do with energy. Here are all the components. Here's the wholesale side. Here's the retail side. Here's the production side. Here is the storage side. Here is et cetera, because the next question would be, how much are you going to be involved in this is number 3, how much are you going to be involved in the power generation side of things? And because obviously you could get in the solar business, that would be an obvious and easy one. But maybe you're going to get in the nuclear business because that's a huge piece of the action that's going to be taking place later. Maybe you're going to be in gas. You've been buying all these gas turbines. Maybe you're going to make gas turbines. What about transformers? You said there's not enough transformers. Do you need to be in the transformer business? I mean, that's just a whole bunch of possibilities. Probably none of them you're planning to do, but maybe there's a energy master plan of how you're going to get to that terawatt of total production just for Tesla. So a terawatt extra for the United States and a terawatt for Tesla. That is your goal, but man, where are the details? Number 4, clearly a part of the energy story is the raw materials. Is Tesla going to get deeper into mining and refining of raw materials for energy? And related to that, will Tesla be helping in that regard with mining and or refining of rare earths? Because you need rare earths for so much of what you do, especially for motors and magnets and all that kind of stuff. And are you going to rely on China? Are you going to rely on the United States' new efforts by some of these companies to mine these rare earths, or are you going to get into that business yourself? As you got the Boring Company that can certainly help out with that. You've talked about new mining methods that would never, ever, ever disturb the surface because of the Boring Company. All right, number 5, the data center. Okay, well, we've got one data center down in Austin that's already set up and ready to go. You've got a whole nother space that's been cleared out that is over there, theoretically is, going to be ready to go later this year. It's going to be filled with more NVIDIA computers. It's going to be, a total, a huge new computer data center. We don't know how many GPUs you're planning to put there, how much of that is going to be the dojo, how much of it is going to be NVIDIA or others. We've heard some rumors and reports, and Brian Wang has given us some idea. He believes that this will become a very, very big business, a very, very large data center. Is it going to be competing with the AI data center or not? Very, very, huge questions around all of that. So then number 6, related to that, Brian says that Dojo will pass or could pass NVIDIA as a chip maker in 2029. Well, that's a big deal. And Brian's making the claim, and Brian's not stupid about this stuff. Is that the plan? Well, maybe you could tell us. Maybe you could let us know that, in fact, based on what you see now, Dojo is planning to really be in competition at the levels of NVIDIA in the later part of this decade. And then and then if you're going to do that, is that just what you think you'll need for your own data centers? Or is it going to be something which is going to be selling Dojo chips to others as well? Number 7, and speaking of all that, is Tesla and X going to merge? Now, I can understand why there might be reasons why you wouldn't want to talk about that yet, but you have to have a board meeting soon. Is this something that's going to be voted on at this upcoming board meeting? There's a lot of chatter about X and Tesla merging. We can see a lot of advantages to that. A bunch of people in the Tesla community seem to think that would be a really good idea. Is that going to happen? Number 8, when will Grok be in the car? I really feel like it's got to be now. And a lot of people on X think it's got to be now. And then it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. And then when's it going to be a feature on Optimus? When will we see Optimus speak? It'll be, again, another fun thing. I don't think it would be taking anything away. I don't think it would be giving anything to the competition if Optimus had Grok as a voice and we were able to see Grok having a conversation with people from the Tesla team. Anyway, I'd love to see that. Number 9, you've given a lot of different projections of the Optimus production and sales in 2026. The most recent seemed to be kind of a lowball number on the order of only 50,000 in the second half of 2026. Earlier, you were talking more like 100,000, and it would be all of 2026. So where are we on all of that? Could you give us kind of I know it's all projections and it could all change, but could we have like here's what I really think we're going to do in 26. Here's what I really think we're going to do in 27. And then if you've thought anything at all about pricing, or if you're getting firm or getting close to firm on pricing, I'd love to know, is it going to be a rental? Is it going to be offered for sale? Of course, you know my thinking. I think it should be $400,000 if you want to buy it, and it should be $120,000 a year if you want to rent it. That's just me. But I'd love to hear more about that. And I know there's a lot of reasons why you may not be able to do that, but that is something on my list. And finally, number 10, will Tesla get into the drone business? Everybody thinks you will. Not everybody. I think so. I've said so for a very long time. Other people now agree with me. Farzad and others have now started saying, yeah, that sounds like Tesla ought to do that. I've thought you should have been doing it for a year now. But anyway, is that possible? You're going to do that? How about HVAC? When is that going to happen? Is there any chance at all? What about VTOL? Everybody's talking about that again. Electric VTOL. Is that even a possibility anymore? And then, surprisingly, when I did this list about a week ago, suggesting a whole bunch of different places where Tesla might get into business that they're not now, the one that got the most excitement and most people thinking you would do it is home building. So is that a possibility? Could you potentially get into the home building business? Well, that's all I've got for the 7:45 show tonight. Tesla is still at 331, was a tad higher a second ago, is now at 331. I'm going to put the cards up for the morning show and also for the afternoon show, so you can go back and watch both of those. The most important one, I mean, they're both important, but the most important one, if you want to know more about my theory about the switch over, no cars will be sold for private use, then you need to see the morning show. But if you want to see kind of the second part of that theory, that would be in the afternoon show. I'll put both cards up there. Tomorrow, you'll have Larry Goldberg and then Brian White. All that is all scheduled for tomorrow. So you can look forward to that, which if you want to make sure you don't miss, you need to hit notify. And you can't hit notify unless you are a subscriber. And you can't be no, I'm sorry. And then if you could like what I did tonight, you could hit the like button. And then of course you could join Patreon or join here on YouTube, or maybe you just like this particular program. You can pay me $2 or $4 or whatever. You just send a little gift. I spend a lot of time putting the show together, a huge amount of time, and some of you are making money as a result of, I got lucky one day and I said something smart, you took advantage of it and you made a little money. Maybe you could share. That's all I got for you right now. Happy Father's Day. It's been great talking to you.